Apples, honey, cinnamon, and sugar. I don't know if there's a better combination, but I've definitely just found my new favorite set of sourdough inclusions. So y'all come along, I'm going to show you how I did it. This morning I just whipped up a traditional loaf of sourdough using my bread recipe that is linked in my bio, but I added about 25 grams of honey because I knew that I was going to be trying this out. After getting my loaf of bread laminated out, I added about 1/3 of a cup of raw sugar to the center of my loaf. I try not to get the sugar on the perimeter of the bread because it tends to just kind of leach out as it's baking and it burns on the bottom of the loaf, which is not ideal. Then I just cut up an entire medium-sized Honeycrisp apple, peeled the skin off, diced it up, and spread that out on top of the laminated loaf. Next, I sprinkled it with cinnamon, and I used my duster that's linked in my bio to sprinkle a little bit more flour on top of this because I was a little concerned about the apples and the moisture that they would add back into the dough. So I think in hindsight, this was a good move. And then we are just going to fold this burrito style and get it ready to shape. After folding both sides in towards the middle, I like to add one more layer of inclusions just to make sure that I get plenty of flavor packed into this loaf. So another layer of apples and another layer of cinnamon, but I did not add the sugar this time because, as I mentioned before, sugar can be a little bit of a problem when you have too much inside coming out of that loaf during the bake. So we're going to roll this up and then we are going to shape it into our ball. And I opted to skip the cold proof for the same reasons that I mentioned earlier. I was a little concerned about the moisture in the apples and the sugar, just kind of causing this loaf to be a big gooey mess. So I shaped this loaf and I put it directly in the oven and it turned out perfect. I have the oven preheated to 500 degrees. I'm going to bake it for 20 minutes with the lid on. Then I'm going to drop the temp to 450 degrees and finish it off for another 30 minutes. We are doing a very basic score here so that some moisture can escape. Without a cold proof, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of difficult to do any intricate designs. So we're going to get this in the oven, and then here she is. Y'all, I'm telling you, you've got to try this. This is my absolute favorite loaf of sourdough so far.